Alrighty, welcome to the 3 secrets about really healing your PTSD. I am so excited to share this information with you. This is going to be a very interactive presentation, and so what I'm going to ask is, if you have questions, go ahead and put them in the Q&A tab. You'll see on your screen there's a button that says Q&A. You can just go ahead and type in your question there, and I will get to them at the end. Also, I am going to be checking in with you as we go through, particularly for a certain portion, and I'd love it if you could just go ahead. I'm going to be giving a couple polls to facilitate this talk, and if you could go ahead and respond to those polls, I would love it and appreciate it, and it'll help me help you more. All right, so without further ado, I am super excited, and let's go ahead and get started. So, the 3 secrets about really healing your PTSD. My goal for this presentation is to really give you a taste of how you can heal yourself and your trauma, in particular using a specific healing method, which we're going to look at in just a moment. So I'm going to show you how to resolve PTSD without leaving your home or endlessly repeating your story using only one technique. How does that sound? Oops. All right, so in this master class, we'll be looking at what is trauma, trauma in the brain and the energy body, common trauma experiences, my favorite method for systematically healing trauma, which is tapping, learning how to do tapping. We'll practice tapping with a difficult emotion. And then we'll look at the 3 secrets about really healing trauma yourself, as well as a course I created to help you do that. And then at the end, we'll take questions. So, what is trauma? For the purposes of this presentation, I want to define trauma as anything that we encounter that is beyond the capacity of our mind-body system to process effectively. And trauma can be looked at through at least 3 different lenses, and those are the brain, the energy body, and the physical body. And we're going to be looking at those lenses right now. So, looking at this excellent and potentially confusing brain diagram, all we need to do for this presentation is look at these 3 purple highlighted pieces. So essentially with trauma from a brain perspective, we take in information with our senses, and the brain pipes that information along to the thalamus. And from the thalamus, it goes to the amygdala, which is the emotional processing center of the brain. And this is where the brain labels the emotional experience. Oh, this is fear. Oh, this is shame. Oh, this is joy. Oh, this is love, right? This is all happening in the amygdala. And then most commonly what happens is once the memory is labeled emotionally, it goes to the hippocampus. And the hippocampus we can think of as the hard drive of your brain. It's where the memories are stored. Now with trauma, what happens is we take in data with our senses. It goes from the thalamus to the amygdala, and the emotional intensity of a traumatic memory or a traumatic experience is so intense that it never actually moves into the storage area of the hippocampus. And so it just kind of hangs out in this amygdala part of the brain. And then other sensory things that we see, things that we hear, things that we smell, touch, taste, etc., can remind us of that experience, and it can be re-triggered because it hasn't been moved into storage yet. It's just kind of stuck here. Then we have trauma from an energy body perspective. From this perspective, we have an energy system, almost like an electrical grid in our body, and the energy flows through this system. And if the energy gets stuck, that's what causes all disease, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, or spiritual. And so trauma is energy getting stuck somewhere in the system and not being processed effectively. And then lastly here, trauma in the physical body. So trauma and stress can get stored in the physical body, and that's why there are sometimes physical symptoms of trauma, like tremors and shaking, stomach pain, nausea, and physical pain. So we've covered this idea that trauma occurs at multiple levels and can be looked at several different ways. So we looked at the brain so far, we looked at the energy body, and just now we've touched on the physical body as well. So why is it important to heal trauma? Well, trauma is strongly correlated with a whole bunch of, or strongly connected with a whole bunch of other mental and emotional issues. So you can see here, for example, that 51% of men that have PTSD also have major depression. Likewise, for women, it's 65%. And so you can see these are like the top 5 most common mental emotional issues that go along with trauma and PTSD. And so the idea then is that if we can heal the trauma, these things actually improve as well. And in my own view, it's really that the trauma stored in the body, is basically emotions that are in the system that haven't been processed and integrated and moved through. And so they can lead to depression. They can lead to anxiety. And really, if we look at this list, panic disorder, social anxiety, and anxiety are all different types of anxiety. And then we have depression and really addiction, alcohol and drug dependence. Cool. So if we, just to recap, it's important to heal trauma because in healing trauma, we can really help these other issues as well and prevent these other issues as well. So some common trauma and PTSD experiences. You might notice that you feel overwhelmed easily. You might feel a lot of anxiety in your life that might get in the way of your ability to function. You may have nightmares and flashbacks. You may feel unworthy and blame yourself for what happened. You may find that your self-esteem goes down after experiencing trauma, and you might also feel some combination of despair or hopeless or numb. You may also feel alone. And just a couple more of these common trauma experiences. We just talked about a moment ago, depression, anger, kind of a fear of leaving your house or being around people. And also people may experience physical pain. Again, that's this idea that trauma is stored in the body and we can experience pain as a result of trauma. Oftentimes, it's really tempting to think of pain as purely a biological thing, right? But I like to look at the whole picture, and in my view, thoughts and emotions are linked to our physical experience. And so the stored emotions of the trauma can lead to physical pain. And so here are just kind of a recapping of those common trauma and PTSD experiences. And so I wanted to invite you to imagine what your life could be like if you could heal these experiences. Imagine if you could feel much less triggered, if you could sleep better, if you could feel better, if you experienced less physical pain. Imagine if you felt more at peace and felt more free of the overwhelming anxiety and stress. Imagine what it would be like to feel hope again. Imagine if you felt better about yourself, if you had the tools to better care for yourself, if you felt empowered to heal yourself. And so this is just a disclaimer as I go forward into the presentation. And really what it says is, I can't guarantee any results from these methods. And really this is for folks that are prepared to do the work to get the results that they want to feel better. So why tapping for trauma, right? There's some different techniques out there. Why tapping? Because of the results. So you can see here, according to some studies, 91% of veterans who used tapping were no longer diagnosable with PTSD after 6 sessions, after 6 hours. For earthquake survivors, they experienced a 72% decrease in symptoms of PTSD. Sexual assault survivors showed significant improvement, and abuse survivors had dramatically reduced avoidance and intrusive thoughts. And so you can see this is a lot of different types of trauma. and tapping has been shown effective for each of these. So what is secret number one? Tapping. The idea with tapping is you can see here, I've got this diagram on the right-hand side, and what we're showing is a circuit, right? So the energy is going, the electricity is going from the battery to this light bulb, through another light bulb, back to the battery. And we know that if we disrupt this circuit anywhere, the energy, the electricity is not going to go from the battery to the light bulb, and so essentially the circuit is not working. And so we can think of trauma that way too, that it's a disruption in this circuit. And so with tapping, what we're doing is we are restoring the flow of energy so that we allow the body to heal itself. So we'll get into this a little bit more very shortly. Here are the tapping points. You can see there's about 15 points. Don't worry, you don't have to memorize this now. I am going to give more information on this. It's going to make it a lot easier to digest and take in. Just wanted to give an overview. You can see there are several points on the hand, several points on the face, and several points on the torso. All right. So here are those tapping points again. This is just the order that I like to use. Again, don't worry, you don't have to remember any of this. And in between tapping, we go through and we tap on this point and we do these things. Basically, this is called the 9-gamut procedure, and what we're doing here, you can see we're looking down to the left, down to the right, rolling the eyes left in a circle, to the right in a circle. It sounds so silly, and I'm going to get to the why of this in just 2 seconds. Then we count to 5 and hum a tune, and count to 7 and hum a tune. So why are we doing these things? Well, the idea is when we experience trauma, we maybe didn't have access to all of our healthy brain functioning. And so by looking to the left and the right, we're actually activating both hemispheres of our brain. When we roll our eyes in both directions, we're activating both hemispheres of our brain. When we count to 5, we're using the logical side of our brain, and when we hum, we're using the creative side of our brain. And so this is inviting our whole brain into the picture, and by using our whole brain, the idea is now we can process this trauma effectively. So in short, we tap on some points, we tap here and do this kind of funny looking stuff, and then here we tap some more, and that is one round of tapping, summarized here. So again, I know this is a lot of information. Don't worry, you don't have to remember any of it right now. So just to add a tiny bit more, when we start a round of tapping, we want to tell our brain what we're focusing on, and we use opening statements to do that. So opening statements follow a format, and I've kind of given that here, and here's an example of an opening statement. So tapping on this, here really quickly. Again, you don't have to remember this right now. So tapping on this karate chop point, which you can see here, you would say, even though I am feeling angry, I deeply and profoundly love and accept myself. And you would repeat this 3 times. And then as you tapped on the rest of the point, you would tell your brain what you're focusing on by saying this anger out loud. And so this is just telling our brain what it is we're focusing on. Now, final piece of a tapping round here is measuring. And this is something that I really like about tapping, especially compared to other healing methods. With tapping, what we're doing is we're checking in. Okay, I'm feeling angry. What is the level of the anger from 0 to 10? And so let's say before I start a round of tapping, that level is at an 8, right? And then I would tap through the round, and at the end of the round, I would check back in with myself, and I would say, okay, what's the intensity of the anger now from 0 to 10? And maybe it's a 4 now. So I do another round, and then I check in again, and I say, it's at a 0 now. I can kind of move on to the next thing. And so with tapping, we get to measure, and we actually get to really see our progress, and I really like that about it. So just to bring it all together, and again, you don't have to memorize any of this now. First, we measure what it is we're working on. So we measure the feeling from 0 to 10. Then we make an opening statement in the example I used before, even though I'm feeling this anger, I deeply and profoundly love and accept myself. Then we tap through our points while saying this anger, this anger, this anger. We use this 9 gamut point to activate our whole brain. We tap some more on some points, saying this anger, just reminding our brain what it is we're working on. And then we measure the intensity of the feeling afterwards. So I'm actually going to start a poll now, and I'd like to I'd like to have you answer yes or no if you've used tapping before. Have you done EFT tapping before? Oh, I love this participation. This is wonderful. Thank you. Keep going. I'm waiting on just a few more folks. All right. So right now, it looks like the majority of us have done tapping before. And let's see here. What I want to do is I actually want to invite us to practice tapping together now. And what you'll probably find is the way that I go about tapping is a little bit different because I'm incorporating some other healing techniques in there that I find make tapping more effective. And so I'm going to give another poll now. Here we go. Okay, we've got the new poll up. Here we go. Okay, so second poll is up now. What is the most difficult emotion you've experienced this week? And I'm asking this because this is what we're going to be tapping on right now. What is the most difficult emotion you've experienced this week? And this is confidential. I can't see who's choosing what, and no one else can. And so this is really just for your benefit so that we can make this the most effective for you. If you selected other, please go ahead and put in the chat box what other is, because I'd like to really get an idea. So just waiting on some more folks for just another moment for this poll. What is, if you feel comfortable, please in the chat box put what other is for you. If not, I'll understand. You might not be comfortable doing that. Just taking another moment here. Overwhelmed. Thank you. Okay. So, okay. So we're going to go ahead and get started with some tapping. Oh, there's one more response in the chat box. Off and out of sorts. Okay. So this is what we're going to do. We're tied pretty close with fear and sadness. I'll actually share the results with you here so you can see them. And for this tapping around, I'm going to use this sadness as the example. But what I want to do is, if you're experiencing fear, when I say sadness, just use the word fear. And if you're experiencing guilt, just use, and I say sadness, just use guilt. And for those of us who wrote in the chat box, if you're experiencing overwhelm or out of sorts, if you're experiencing overwhelm, go ahead and say overwhelm when I say sadness. And if you're, for the person that wrote out of sorts, I want to encourage you actually to just say this feeling and think of the whole feeling that you've experienced. This feeling. Okay. So I am actually going to, bear with me just a moment. Okay. All right. And now, actually, there's another poll that I'd like to have you do very briefly before we begin. And that is to just check in with yourself, maybe close your eyes, notice what the intensity of the sadness is. So I'm going to comment there in a second, Greg, but just check in what the intensity of the emotion is that you voted for. Is it 0, like anywhere from 0 to 10? And just notice where it is now before we begin. Greg, I'm going to say sadness, and if you're feeling some other emotion, I want you to substitute that feeling word in when I say sadness. Does that make sense? Yeah, just because I'm keeping it simple by just taking one example. All right. So again, I will share these results here. Thank you everyone for voting and participating. This is so wonderful, and I really appreciate it. So here are the results, and we can see that some 3 folks are at an 8, one person's at a 7, a 6, a 5, and a 4, and out of 10, of course. And so I'm going to close this poll right now, and you can see me on your screen. Close your eyes for just a moment, and I want you to think back on the memory that you, from this week, where you felt that feeling the most. Where you felt that feeling the most. I apologize for getting ahead of myself here. Okay, so your eyes are closed and you're thinking back on that memory. Really visualize that memory as if you were there now. And really feel that feeling. And I'm going to go ahead and just give a few seconds to get there. And then when you're ready, we'll open our eyes and begin. And so now that you have that feeling and you're really alive for you, we'll go ahead and begin the round of tapping. So just once again, lifting that karate chop hand, taking the 4 fingers of the right hand, tapping on that karate chop point, making sure all 4 fingers land on that karate chop point. Go ahead and repeat after me. Even though I am feeling this sadness or other feeling, I deeply and profoundly love and accept myself. Nice deep breath, followed by a sigh. Let's go again. Even though I am feeling this sadness, I deeply and profoundly love and accept myself. Nice big sigh. Really giving yourself permission to make noise here. I'll explain why afterwards. And one more round of repeating this opening statement. Here we go again. Even though I am feeling this sadness, I deeply and profoundly love and accept myself. Inhale. Nice big sigh. Good. And now, what we're going to do is, in a moment, we're going to begin tapping through the points. And again, I just want to be very clear. I'm going to say this sadness just for simplicity's sake, but I want you to be using whatever the feeling word is for you. So if that's fear, if that's guilt, if that's overwhelm, just go ahead and substitute that for the word sadness that I'm using. All right? So now let's take 2 fingers of either hand, and we're going to tap on the eyebrow points. And right on the furry part of the eyebrow. And just go ahead and repeat after me as we move through the points. Again, using your feeling word, though. This sadness. Inhale. Awesome. And now on the temples, on the outside of the eyebrows, you can feel that indentation in the skull there. This sadness. Inhale. Good. And now the cheekbones directly below the eye, you can feel that the bones of the cheek there, tapping right there below the eye with the fingertips of either hand. This sadness. Inhale. Good. Okay. And now taking 2 fingers of one hand, bringing them to the upper lip right in the center below the nose. And again, we'll use our phrase, this sadness. Inhale. And I want to invite you again to really allow yourself to take a nice deep breath and nice audible sigh here, or even a groan, whatever noise wants to come out. And that allows the healing to occur at a deeper level. And so now we're going to go below the lower lip in that crevice in the chin. This sadness. Inhale. Good. And now what we're going to do is we're going to take one hand and we're going to find our collarbones on our chest, okay? And below the collarbones is a hollow area above the ribs. Go ahead and see if you can find that hollow area with your thumb. And then what we're going to do is we're going to move our thumb in toward the center of our chest right next to the sternum bone, which runs up and down. And then once we're in that hollow area next to the sternum bone, we're going to put two fingers on the other side of our chest, right in the hollow area on the other side of the sternum bone, which runs up and down here. All right, so tapping there in that hollow area, we're going to say, this sadness. Nice deep inhale. Good. And now placing 4 fingers on the sternum bone above the heart. Sternum bone runs straight up and down, so I've got my fingers going straight up and down. Always, always, always using our fingertips for tapping. Tapping here, we're going to use our phrase, our reminder phrase, and that is, this sadness. Inhale. Good. And now, what we're going to do is we're going to take the fingers of either hand and we're going to go about 4 inches below our armpits. For ladies, this will be right on your bra strap. And tapping there, go ahead and actually see if you can find any tender spots in there. And if you can find some tender spots, I want to invite you to tap right on them. Tapping here, we're going to go ahead and use our reminder phrase, this sadness. Inhale. Good. And now I'm going to stand up for this next one, but you don't have to. What we're going to do is we're going to find our solar plexus, our bottom ribs, along the base of the ribs. And we're going to tap out from the center toward the sides. And I want you to see if you notice any tender spots on these bottom ribs as you tap out toward the sides. And if you do, I want you to go ahead and tap right on those tender spots, and we'll go ahead and use our reminder phrase here. And our reminder phrase is, this sadness. Inhale. Awesome. Awesome. Now, what we'll do is we'll go ahead and stick out our left hand, palm up toward the sky, okay, just showing you from a different angle. Pardon there's any background noise. We're keeping our hand palm up toward the sky. We will go ahead and take the 2 fingers of our right hand and we'll place them in the center of the left wrist, right where it meets the hand. Tapping there, we're going to say, this sadness, or whatever our reminder phrase is. Inhale. Good. And now tapping on the side of the thumb, so not the top and not the bottom, but the side. You can see here my fingers are right on the side of the thumb. So tapping there, we're going to say, this sadness. Inhale. Good. And now going to the index finger, same spot right on the side there. Again, making sure we're using our fingertips of our tapping hand here. So tapping on the side of that index finger, go ahead and say, this sadness. Inhale. Good. And now the middle finger. Again, right on that side there, same spot. This sadness. Inhale. Good. And now we're using our left hand as the hand that we're tapping on. So I want to invite you to keep that still here. And I want you to take your right hand, which is your tapping hand, and actually flip it over, keeping the tapping fingers extended, and bring those 2 tapping fingers to the underside of the left ring finger. Okay? So tapping here, just to show you, you see? So I'm not on the front and I'm not on the bottom, I am on the side, just like the same points that we've been doing on the hand except on the bottom. So tapping here, we're going to go ahead and say, this sadness. Inhale. Ah. Good. And now finding the same exact spot on the bottom of the pinky finger, the underside of the pinky finger, tapping there. Again, I'm just showing you here. Tapping there, we're going to say, this sadness. Inhale. Ah, good. And just a reminder that we're substituting whatever your emotion is that you're working with for this sadness. So if it's guilt, it would be this guilt. If it's fear, it would be this fear. If it's overwhelm, it would be this overwhelm. And we said if you're feeling out of sorts, it would be this feeling, just to make it easy for your brain to identify. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to come back to that karate chop point, making sure we're getting all 4 fingers on that meaty portion of the hand. Tapping there, we're going to use our reminder phrase again, and we're going to say, this sadness. Inhale. Ah. And once again, nice deep sigh here. Biggest sigh you've done all day so far. Ah. Good. And now go ahead and lower those tapping hands for a moment. Maybe give them a shake. Good. If you have some water nearby, go ahead and take a drink. Good. And now what we're going to do is we're going to do this. You know what? Let's take a pause for a second. How many people are already noticing a difference in how they feel now? Go ahead and just type a little something into the chat box for just a moment. Mm-hmm. Cool. Good. Thank you. Thank you. Wonderful. Wonderful. Let's keep it going. Let's keep it going. Thank you, everyone, for this participation. I'm really enjoying it. So now, and I hope you are too. So now, let's go ahead and stick our hand palm down toward the floor. And we're going to, I want you to just watch me for a moment. Here's, and find this on your own hand. So here's my pinky knuckle, and here's my ring finger knuckle. And see if you can find that space in between those knuckles on your left hand. And just kind of track your finger about an inch back towards your wrist. And you can feel there's a hollow area there between the finger bones. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep my finger there. I'm going to bring my second tapping finger right into that hollow area. And I'm just going to bring my hand palm down toward the floor again. Now, let's go ahead and begin tapping here. This is the 9 gamut point. I like to think of this as the intermission portion of the tapping round, meaning the tapping round can be thought of as a sandwich where the tapping points are the 2 pieces of bread, and this is like the meat or the veggie patty of the sandwich. So tapping here, what I'd like to have you do is go ahead and keep your head still, so not moving your head, and just follow my instructions verbally. You don't necessarily have to look at me for this. So continuing to tap on that 9 gamut point, go ahead and look down to the left without moving your head. And now look down to the right without moving your head. And now roll your eyes a full circle one way without moving your head. Roll your eyes a full circle the other way without moving your head. And now I'm going to hum a tune. It doesn't matter what tune you choose, just hum an actual song. An actual song. So I like Oh When the Saints, so that's what I'm going to use. And just another few moments. Good. And now just go ahead and count to 5, either out loud with me or silently to yourself. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we'll hum a tune again. I'll use Oh When the Saints again. Just another moment here. Good. And now we'll hum a tune again one more time as we conclude this 9-gamut point procedure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Good. And go ahead and give those tapping hands a shake. They've been working hard. And once again, I want to invite you to just check in now, even after just doing that 9-gamut procedure, if you can notice a difference in how you feel now. Good. Yeah. Yeah. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to tap through the other half of the round. And this time we'll be using the right side of the body since we tapped on the left side of the body a moment ago. So here we go, bringing the 2 fingers of either tapping hand to the furry part of the eyebrow. Again, using whatever feeling word is that you were using before. So again, if you're working with sadness, and sadness, if guilt, fear, fear, overwhelm, and this feeling, I believe, are our tapping words for this group. So tapping here, right on this furry part of the eyebrow, repeat after me, but using your own feeling word. I'll use this sadness. Here we go. This sadness. Inhale. Ah. Good. Temples now on the outside of the eyebrows, right in that indentation in the skull. This sadness. Inhale. Ah. Good. Cheekbones right below the eyes. Again, making sure we're using those fingertips of both hands. Tapping there. This sadness. Inhale. Ah. Good. And now 2 fingers on the center of the upper lip, right below the nose, tapping there. This sadness. Inhale. Ah. Good. Finding that crevice below the lower lip, above the chin, right there. Tapping with the fingertips. This sadness. Inhale. Ah. Good. And now, once again, taking the thumb, finding the collarbone here, finding the hollow area directly below the collarbone, and bringing the thumb in toward the sternum bone, which runs up and down. Once the thumb is next to that sternum bone in the hollow area, go ahead and bring the 2 tapping fingers into the hollow area on the other side of the sternum bone. So my sternum bone is right here in between these 2 points. And my fingers are in the hollow area. All right, so tapping there. This is one of the, I think probably the hardest tapping point to find and identify. And so I like to really make sure people are in the right spot. So tapping there. Go ahead and repeat after me using your reminder phrase. This sadness. Inhale. Ah. And now, let's go ahead and bring the 4 fingers of that tapping hand to the heart, right above the sternum. So the 4 fingers are going straight up and down on that sternum bone. Tapping there, we're going to use our reminder phrase. This sadness. Inhale. Ah. Good. And now, once again, we'll take the fingers of either hand and we'll find the point about 4 inches below our armpits. Again, let's tap around in there and see if we can find any tender spots. If we find any tender spots, we want to tap right on those. And if not, that's okay too. For ladies, we'll be right on our bra strap. And so tapping there, go ahead and use your reminder phrase, this sadness. Inhale. Ah. Good. And now let's go ahead and find that solar plexus point again. So let's go ahead and find the solar plexus here. tapping out along the bottom ribs towards the sides. See if you find any tender spots in there, anywhere along these bottom ribs from the center out toward the sides. And if you do, go ahead and tap right on those. Tapping there, go ahead and repeat after me using your reminder phrase. This sadness, inhale. Ah, good. Let's do another inhale here. Ah, good. And now let's go ahead and stick our right hand out, palm up toward the sky. And we're going to take the two fingers of our left hand and we're going to put them right in the center of our right wrist, right where it meets the hand. So tapping right on that point. Go ahead and repeat after me using your reminder phrase. This sadness. Inhale. Ah, good. And now going to the side of the right thumb. So again, I'm not on the top, I'm not on the bottom, I am on the side. So tapping right there with our fingertips of our left hand. Go ahead and repeat after me using your phrase. This sadness. Inhale. Ah, good. And now going to the index finger, same spot, right on the side. Tapping there, continuing to use our fingertips. So you can see my fingertips are landing right on that point compared to, say, something like this. My fingertips are right there. So tapping there, repeat after me using your phrase. This sadness, nice big sigh. Ah, good. And now middle finger, same spot. This sadness, inhale. Ah, good. And now go ahead and, keeping this right hand the same, go ahead and flip the tapping hand so it's palm up toward the sky with the fingers extended. Bring those two tapping fingers right to the bottom underside of that right pinky finger. And again, notice notice where I am. I'm on the side. So I'm not on the front, I'm not on the back, I'm on the side. So tapping here, we'll use our reminder phrase again as we move toward wrapping up this tapping round. This sadness. Inhale. Ah, awesome. And now we'll go ahead and find the same spot on the underside of the pinky finger. Tapping there. Go ahead and repeat after me using your phrase, just like we've been doing. This sadness. Inhale. Ah, good. And now let's go ahead and bring all four fingers of our left hand to the karate chop point, this meaty portion of the right hand, tapping there, making sure we're using our fingertips here. Go ahead and repeat after me using your phrase, this sadness. And now we're going to do the two biggest sighs we've done all day. Leave it all on the playing field here. That's my invitation to you, is to really give yourself any permission you need if you've been holding back to really let the sound out here. So go ahead and inhale. Ah, good. One more just like that. Ah, good. And now let's go ahead and give our tapping hands a shake because we've been working hard. We can lower them in our lap or anywhere else that feels comfortable. And I am going to invite you now to close your eyes and check in now with the emotional intensity of the emotion you are working with now compared to before we started. Where is it now from 0 to 10? And I'm going to launch a new poll, so when you're ready, you can open your eyes and just kind of vote for where you are now from 0 to 10. And go at your own pace. There's no rush right this second. Awesome. Waiting on one more person. Cool. So before we had 3 folks at an 8, and I think one person each at 6, 5, and 4. And I want to show you where things are at now because I think it's super cool. So I'm sharing the results with you, and you can see here that 2 people are now at a 4, and then everyone else is below that. So we have 1 person at a 3, 2 people at a 2, and 2 people at a 1. That's pretty awesome, I think. So go ahead and comment how it is to notice that difference. You know, how do you feel about noticing that difference? What's it like noticing that? In the chat box, if you'd like. And so let's go ahead and continue with the presentation. Oops. Yeah. Thanks for sharing. I like noticing that it feels, or knowing that it feels good to notice that difference. All right. So let's go ahead and continue with the presentation. Oops, one more person wrote in. Let's see. Always nice to feel calmer. I like hearing that too. I agree. All right. So, let's dig into the 3 secrets of really healing trauma and PTSD. So here are the 3 secrets. I'll go ahead and read them out loud. I can accomplish more healing in one session using this technique at home than I can with most other healing methods, and the research supports this. Secret number 2, I don't have to spend years in therapy to heal PTSD. And this is a big plus because I hate wasting time. And finally, secret number 3, I only need a little time each week to make this work, as little as 1 to 2 hours per week. Let's look at secret number 1. I can accomplish more healing in one session using tapping at home than I can with most other healing methods, and the research supports this. So here's a story of a client of mine, Kat, and about 30 years prior to working together, she had been in this terrible car wreck. And so she had refrained from driving for 30 years, really, because of the trauma of this car wreck. And so using tapping in one session, we were able to work through the feelings that she experienced. And afterwards, you'll notice at the bottom paragraph, she says she was able to go in the car 3 times since the session, which was only the day before. And she also, you'll see at the very bottom that she traveled 45 minutes long distance, and now she was able to do this without any real worry. And so I thought that was amazing. Isn't that amazing? So what does the research say? We looked at earlier how 91% of veterans who used tapping were no longer diagnosable with PTSD. And I wanted to show you the 3 other main therapy methods that are used for working with PTSD, and those are prolonged exposure, which is repeatedly telling the story many times, cognitive processing therapy, which is changing how we think about the trauma, the story, and EMDR, which is processing the trauma through eye movement. And so what the data from the research shows is that 53% of PTSD patients going through these methods, that is to say, prolonged exposure, cognitive processing therapy, and EMDR, will no longer be diagnosable with PTSD. And so you can see the rate of veterans who use tapping and were no longer diagnosable was 91%, while folks using these other methods was only 53%. So now I've shown you that you can accomplish more healing in one session with tapping than you can with most other methods. Isn't that cool? Secret number 2, I don't have to spend years in therapy to heal PTSD. And this is a big plus because I hate wasting time. So here's Lucy's story. Lucy had also been in a car accident, and she thought she'd need years to recover. She felt depression, anxiety, and had low self-esteem. Her head felt foggy and she had memory issues. We worked through the memory of her car accident progressively, and after tapping, she felt more free, content, safer, and more relaxed. She felt more clear-headed and like what had happened no longer bothered her. What does the research say about how long tapping takes compared to other methods? So PTSD treatment and therapy typically includes about 15 to 20 sessions, although most therapists like to spend about 20 to 30 sessions. And as we saw before, only about half of those patients will see improvement from these sessions. However, using tapping, most PTSD can be resolved with 4 to 10 sessions. And I've seen clients see major results from just one session. So healing is shorter and more effective with tapping. So now I've shown you that you can heal what might take years using other methods in a short time using tapping. Isn't that awesome? And here we have secret number 3. I only need a little time each week to make this work, as little as 1 to 2 hours. Here's Bill's story. Here's what Bill said before he went through this process. He said that events during his day kept him awake, and that he believed everything was his fault, and also that he's watchful and he would check multiple things a day and make sure everything is locked. And so really what we can see is the feelings under these experiences are anxiety and self-blame and fear. Now, this is what Bill did. Bill reached out to me with significant PTSD. When he had taken a PTSD assessment, he came out with a score of about 85 out of 100. And using the system that we're going to look at in a minute, he worked through each of his memories one at a time, measuring before and after, just like we did a moment ago. And he cleared the emotional charge from each memory by following the process outlined in Clear My PTSD. Let's see what happened. So here's what Bill said before on the left. Events during my day kept me awake. I believed everything is my fault, and I'm watchful and I check multiple things to ensure everything is locked. Here's what he said after he went through this process. He said, I'm not so anxious anymore. I don't get angry as fast and as intense as before. I'm able to concentrate a lot more and easier. My moods have been great and improved immensely. I don't let everything bother me anymore. I don't blame myself for everything. My relationships with others have greatly improved, and I am able to sleep better. I was skeptical at first, but the results are amazing, he said. So I asked Bill how long he spent doing this, right? How long did it take him to move from these feelings on the left to this experience on the right? And Bill said about 14 hours. So Bill spent 14 hours over 8 weeks to get these giant results. That's less than 2 hours per week. Bill measured his before and after change, and this is what he saw. Isn't that incredible? We'll look at that a little bit more later. So secret number 3, healing PTSD with tapping can take less than 2 hours per week. So now I've shown you that you can heal what might take years using other methods in a short time through tapping. Isn't that amazing? Let me ask you a question. Do you think if you use tapping to create incredible healing in a short period of time by clearing the emotional charge as it came up while telling your story using tapping, and that you could do this if you did this in 1 to 2 hours per week for a few weeks, that you could have the same results as Bill? What do you think? Let me ask you another question. How many of you are excited by what we just talked about? Go ahead and comment in the chat box if you're feeling excited about what we just talked about. And how many of you are feeling a little overwhelmed because we've covered so much? Hey, Kat, and welcome. Cool. All right, so here we go. I'd like to show you a course I created to help you work through these emotions and to work through the trauma so you can feel better and move on with your life. Would it be okay if I spent a few minutes showing you that? Go ahead and comment yes in the chat box if you'd like to see more about this course. Cool. So here we go. So this, oops, ah, this is a kind of a representation of the course. And you can just kind of see that there are 5 different modules and 7 handouts here to support working through those modules. And this is what we get in each module. There are 5. And so in the first one, we get an intro to tapping and trauma to really cement our understanding and get us comfortable with doing tapping. And then we have modules 2 and 3, which guide us through tapping through each traumatic memory that we have in a particular order to create maximum benefits and to really clear the emotional charge from each one. Then we have tapping to integrate positive beliefs. And so the idea here is after we clear out the kind of the difficult emotional charge around the trauma, we then bring in some positive energy, some positive emotions, some positive beliefs to support us in moving forward. And then finally, at the end, once we've worked through those memories and integrated some positive beliefs using tapping, at the end, we have some breath work to really help facilitate healing at an even deeper level. We spoke about how trauma can be stored in the body, and so this breath work really helps to clear that trauma at the deepest possible levels. Let's check out what people have said about the course. And of course, their names have been changed to protect the privacy of these folks. Here's what Samantha said. David's course empowered me with tools to heal my own PTSD. I have felt like PTSD was always there to ambush me, but with the help of David's course, I was able to be triggered less. I am confident that I can take the skills David taught me and keep healing my PTSD. I finally have hope again. I love that I can work on my own PTSD. I love that I have more tools. I have PTSD because of horrible things that were done to me, and now I have the tools to take my life back. Isn't that cool? Here's what Sharon said. I couldn't get these images out of my mind. They would constantly come up. I was constantly being triggered anytime, any place. I prayed and asked God to help to let it go as it wasn't serving me. I saw a Facebook ad from David about his EFT for PTSD course, and after going through tapping on the image, I no longer get triggered. I'm grateful God answered my prayers and I found peace. Thanks, David. Isn't that wonderful? And now here's Bill's story again, and we're going to just look at a little bit more information than I showed before. So again, here's what he experienced first on the left, this fear and anxiety and kind of self-blame and self-judgment. And then you can see on the right, he's not getting as angry and his mood improved greatly and he's no longer blaming himself. His relationships improved. Wouldn't you like to see that too? And so here are Bill's scores from assessments that he took before and after going through this Clear My PTSD course. So you can see Bill's PTSD score went from 85 down to 39 out of 100. His depression went from 73 before the course down to 11 after going through the course. And his anxiety went from 55 out of 100 to 8 out of 100. And so you can see there are these dramatic drops in his PTSD, depression, and anxiety. And he got these results in just 14 hours with Clear My PTSD, this course that we're looking at right now. So who this works for? This works for people just starting out on their journey to heal PTSD, or for people that have tried everything. This works for people that have been in therapy for years and those that have never tried it. This is for people who are super busy working, or for those who stay at home. So here's what you're going to get. The introduction to tapping and trauma to get comfortable with tapping and really get familiar with how that works. Then once you're comfortable with tapping, you'll be guided to tap through each traumatic memory one at a time to really clear the emotional charge so you can move forward with your life. Once you've cleared out those difficult emotions, then you'll be guided to integrate positive beliefs. And then finally, there's breath work to clear out any negative emotions even more deeply and to bring in a lot more new positive energy. And the total value here is $8,991. Now, healing trauma can seem like opening Pandora's box. It can seem overwhelming. Like, where do I begin? What do I do? You may even feel scared to open the box. Like, the feelings in there may seem so scary and threatening that it's tempting to just let them stay there rather than healing and integrating them. Now, what this course does is it helps you take Pandora's box and break it into little bite-sized pieces so that you can work with those pieces one at a time. So it takes the overwhelm out of the work. Okay? Makes things much more manageable. And now, what I want to also add is that when I first started, I was sort of confused. Like, where do I start? How do I know what to work on? How do I work on what I want to work on? Right? So just these different questions and confusion about, like, what do I do? When do I do it? Blah, 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 blah. Now, the course takes that confusion out of the picture. It gives clear instructions through the handouts to guide you through what to do and when to do it, so there is no confusion, so that things are really clear, so it becomes an open road and all you have to do is follow it. Now, here's the value with the handouts. Here are some bonuses that I've included here in the course. So for the first 30 people that register, you'll get a bonus where you'll learn about how to create healthy relationships and connection. This will help you to create more fulfilling connections, to feel more heard and understood, and to identify common relationship dynamics and how to handle them. Bonus number 2, how to trust yourself and create healthy boundaries. And this is for the first 20 people that register. So in this module, you'll learn to trust yourself. You'll learn how to know what's right for you and what's not right for you. You'll learn how to make healthier choices for yourself based on that knowing. And you'll learn how to make boundaries based on that knowing. Bonus number 3, 30 relaxation exercises. These exercises will help you relax on a daily basis. I find that relaxation is a giant part of the healing process, that oftentimes with trauma, our body can be in the fight or flight mode, and it's very, very difficult for us to heal in that mode. And so relaxing can help our body give us the permission that we need to heal. And so here we have 30 relaxation exercises, and what this allows you to do is it's like a menu that you get to choose from about what feels good today and what works best for you. There's a whole plethora of things to choose from. So here is the whole course with the handouts, with the bonuses, and this is just showing the total value. Now, if all this did was help you feel much less triggered, sleep better, feel better, and experience less physical pain, if it helped you feel more at peace, feel hope again, decrease the overwhelming stress and anxiety, feel better about yourself, give you the tools you needed for self-care, and to help you feel empowered to heal yourself and more relaxed and feel more relaxed and loved, what would it be worth to you? You've already seen how it's worth a lot of money. I'm going to give you a very special offer. just because you've taken the time to heal yourself and spent this time with me on the webinar, on this masterclass. And that offer is, you can get started now for either $9.97 or $97 a month today. And you get the full course with all these bonuses. And to sign up right now, you can go to clearmyptsd.com. Now, there's a 30-day guarantee. So if for any reason, you don't like the course or you're finding it's not working for you, you can just let me know and we'll give you your money back. Get started now at clearmyptsd.com. Bonus 4. So for the first 15 people that sign up, I'm giving this unheard of bonus, which is 6 one-on-one trauma healing sessions with me. We'll work one-on-one together and heal some of your most difficult memories so that you can move forward with your life. These sessions are here to give you amazing, major results quickly. And just to, this is just going over how that works. And the sessions will be through Zoom. So, including those sessions, the total value is a lot of money. And for today, you can get started for $9.97 or $97 a month. If you'd like to sign up, go ahead to clearmyptsd.com. And for the next 30 minutes, I'll be available taking any questions. If you have questions, you can put them in the Q&A box, and I will go ahead and answer them. Any questions about trauma or tapping or any questions you may have about the course, go ahead and put them in that Q&A tab. There should be a button on your screen. Go ahead and sign up at clearmyptsd.com. And I'm happy to take any questions. I genuinely want you to make the right decision for you. So you probably know in your heart of hearts if this is right for you or not. And if it's not, no hard feelings. Stick around in the Facebook group, and I'll be giving a lot of free value in that group. And just to be clear, this is an electronic course, so there is no shipping and handling. There is nothing to be shipped. It is entirely available online, so you can start with it immediately. And I am taking any questions you may have if you'd like to put them either in the Q&A box or the chat box. Hey, Bethany, I see you raised a hand. Go ahead and either ask your question in the Q&A box or in the chat box. And remember, for the first 15 people, that sign up, you'll be getting those 6 one-on-one sessions with me where we'll work together to clear your trauma so you can really feel better and move on with your life. Thanks, Greg. I appreciate you and your participation today. I hope you have a wonderful day, and stick around the group, and there'll be a lot more value there as well. Again, I'm here to answer any questions you may have about trauma, about tapping, about this course, any questions at all. Thanks for that question. So someone asked how many months to pay for the course. It's $97 a month for 12 months, and you have lifetime access to this course. Or you can pay $9.97 up front, and you also have lifetime access to the course. The Facebook group is called David Redboard, Transformation from Within. and Redboard is B-O-R-D. David Redboard, Transformation from Within. Welcoming any more questions you may have. What other questions do we have about tapping or trauma or about the course itself? I'm happy to answer anything you may want to know. And I'll be here for another few minutes just taking any questions you may have. So someone asked, what could cause psychosis in a PTSD patient? So psychosis is, at a very basic level, a really altered perception of reality. And we can start to perceive, let me see. When we experience trauma, it almost sends a signal to our body that the world operates a certain way. For example, that people are out to get us or to hurt us, or that it's not safe, things like this. And so our brain and our body just kind of store these messages and these beliefs internally. With trauma in particular, from an energetic standpoint, you may be familiar with the chakras, and the chakras are just these major energy centers in the body. There are usually 7 of them that we discuss, and they govern major life issues. So the root chakra is concerned with safety and security, and connection with others. And so trauma often impacts the root chakra, right? Because after experiencing trauma, we often have trouble feeling safe. We often have trouble feeling secure. And we can become, when our root chakra is negatively affected, we can become ungrounded. And we can start to experience reality different than it is. And so one of the ways that can show up is psychosis. Is that going to happen to everyone? No, it'll probably happen to a very, very small number of folks. Thanks for that question. And just going on to a next question. I have been doing this type of work now for several years, all in all about 9 years, 10 years. And I've worked with people around all kinds of different health issues, and I feel strongly that trauma is something that if we can clear, we can really create a different experience in our lives. You're welcome, Bethany, and I hope that that helped. I'm happy to take more questions for the next few minutes. Be back in just a moment. But if you have more questions, go ahead and type them in the Q&A box, please. All right. On that note, I am going to wrap here, and I want to thank everyone for attending. I hope you have a wonderful evening, and I've enjoyed sharing this information with you and taking you through some nice tapping. Have a wonderful night. Bye-bye.